This is the video review of the Omegamax Megazord from Power Rangers S.P.D, also known as the Dekabike Robo from Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger. And this figure by itself is okay, but not great. You really need to have the Delt Squad Megazord to really get the full use out of this figure, because they're meant to work together. The bike by itself, it's okay. I mean, it will roll, will stay by itself. It'll look kind of neat. I do think that the back end doesn't look as beefy as it should, because like the front end looks really good. Like from the front, that looks pretty badass. From the side, looks pretty badass from the front, and it's big and beefy in the front, and then kind of spindly in the back. So I don't quite like that. It's not as big of a problem as it could be though, because the point of the motorcycle here is for it to be ridden by this guy. Now the way this works is actually kind of neat, because you have to take the Delt Squad Megazord apart, and it's to form an illusion, kinda. Now what you want to do is you want to take this part off. You don't need to take it off, but it helps, because if you look, this will become a helmet later, but there's some paint scratch right here, and that comes from trying to slot this into the sitting position, and the butt of the Delt Squad Megazord will rub up against the head crest right there, so I just take it off to be safe. Then what you do is you bring the legs forward, and then you slide them in here, like this, and they're the same kind of connections that the normal leg pieces have. So nothing special is going on there. If you see my review of the Delt Squad Megazord, you basically know what those connections are doing. Then you'll put this back on, and this already kind of looks like it's riding, but he doesn't have his legs. The solution is actually kind of neat. What you do is you take his legs, and you will pop them into the side here, like this. And I think this is brilliant because, I mean, it's an illusion. It doesn't work perfectly because, as you can see, you can, the legs look like they're actually attached, like they're not part of the body, if you're looking at it. But just from the corner of your eye, or looking at it from a distance casually, it does look like he's riding it, like he's actually straddling it. So, it's a neat illusion. I wish it worked a little bit better, but I'm not complaining, because it is quite nice in its execution. And in fact, I do leave this figure just in this mode sometimes, just on a shelf or something. It's a really nice display piece. It rolls a lot better in this mode because it has so much mass behind it, because the Omegamax Megazord, or the Omegamax Cycle, is really big, and then it's got a Megazord on top of it, so I quite enjoy this mode. However, to continue on, we do actually need to take the Delt Squad Megazord off, and just for preparation of their later combination, I'm not going to put them back together entirely. I'm going to leave the legs off, and I'm actually going to take the arms off as well. The arms, I'm just going to return them to vehicle mode. And these are supposed to come off. Get that back on. And these connections here are really, really tight. And the thing is that when you take this guy out of here, you have to pull him out evenly, or else he'll get stuck in one leg, and then it'll pop out of, like this leg will pop out, it'll still be stuck in this leg, then we try and pull out this leg will pop back in. So do be careful about that. It is kind of hard to take this guy out. So I've got this guy taken apart most of the way. I'm going to put him off to the side. We'll look at him again later. Now we need to look at transforming this into the actual Omegamax Megazord. Now to do this, we're going to just basically take it all apart. So I'm going to start by taking this off, pop this off, and pop this off, put the parts to the side. Take this off, put it to the side. Take this off, put it to the side. And now we get to the legs. And the legs are kind of interesting because the legs have to support a lot of weight, because when you hold the figure by the legs, the chassis and below is just kind of hanging here by two clips. And these clips are very strong, and in a way they're a bit too strong. And I want to explain what I mean. This clip right here, a while back I was transforming this guy from the bike mode to the Megazord mode, and it was just on so tightly that it and what ended up happening is that the clip broke out of the chassis bit. Now normally the clip is anchored by a screw up here and a screw down here, but it ripped itself off of the anchor points, and I had to pry it out of the, or the tab right here. I had to pry the tab out of the clip here with a screwdriver. Now luckily, since after I've repaired this, I used super glue, and I think this is going to stay because there's a lot of surface area in there to keep this in, and the actual clip here after that incident got quite a bit looser, so it goes on and comes off a lot easier, so I'm not worried about this, but this is a possibility of happening because of how strong these clips need to be. So my advice for avoiding this problem are twofold. One, when you have the legs on and you want to take them off, don't tear them up like this, because what that does is it puts strain on one of the anchors but not the other. So one anchor is taking all of the strain, and that's what caused the break last time. So when you take them off, rotate them off to the side like this. That's going to help you because it's going to push the clips apart from each other a little bit. Now that does introduce a risk of breaking the clips a little bit, but there's nothing you can really do about it, because if you're trying to transform it, you need to get the leg off. So my advice is rotate it off to the side. Pray this doesn't break. I don't think it will because it's really strong in there, but tear it off to the side. And my best bit of advice is there's this little tab right here that will clip in right here. My advice is to not use that, because with the clips up here and then the tab right here and the clip down here, the legs stay together how they should as well as they need to. See? They hold it pretty well. So don't use that, because if you put this into, if you attach them like this, you can't get the leverage you need to pull it off to the side. So if you follow that, that should help keep you from breaking the clips here like I did on mine. Okay, so now we have just the chassis here. We're going to fold this down, rotate the exhaust down, and push up this part to reveal the hands. Then rotate the head around, and now we'll start assembling the guy. Now the first thing we're going to do is deal with the legs. With the legs, you pop this down and pop this out. This right here keeps the foot from collapsing back in, which is necessary for the later combination with this and the Delta Squad Megazord, because there's just so much weight on this ankle joint, and it's not the strongest ratchet. So if you forget about this for the Omegamax Megazord, not that big of a deal, but for the Deltamax Megazord, don't forget that little tab. Do the same to the other side. And the other thing is, you want to fold the legs out before you, or the feet out before you attach these to the chassis, because otherwise these prongs right here will prevent the foot from being able to fold out. So now we will attach these up and up, and now we can start attaching the rest of the bits. First, we'll take these little fist bits that were part of the handlebars, and we will just plug those onto his chest right here. Then we will take these right here, and we will plug them onto the side. Don't worry about which one goes where, they'll only go on one side. The basic rule is that the wheel right here is going to be facing back. The last thing we want to do is we want to take this and clip it onto the back right here. And this is the Omegamax Megazord, and I like this quite a bit. It's not my favorite of all time. I mean, it's kind of weird looking with its pectoral fist here. And it's very brick looking, it's very static looking. There's nothing quite dynamic about it, but it's not bad. It's big, it's hefty, it's got some presence to it, and it's okay. Again, this figure suffers from the syndrome of it's really meant to be a companion piece to another figure, a figure which, by the way, stands by itself just fine. So it's not the greatest figure, but it's not bad. I just don't recommend this figure unless you have the Delta Squad Megazord. So in this mode, he actually has something kind of interesting, which is he has neck articulation, then the arms rotate around 360, and that's about it. He does have some weapons though, which is, if you pull these out, he gets little rubbery knife blade things. They're not very impressive, so I'm not too concerned about anything happening to them. And now we can move on to combining this guy with the Delta Squad Megazord to make the Deltamax Megazord, also known as the Super Dekaranger Robo. Now to do this, we're going to disassemble this guy again, so take these off, take off the fists, push this away, take this off, or take this back, take this off, and take off the legs. So he's basically completely disassembled, and now we can start assembling this guy. So first we start with just the torso of the Delta Squad Megazord. We're going to attach the legs into it like this, the same way as we actually formed the rider mode earlier, and it's the same connection that these guys use. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these right here, and these things were the shoulder pads on the Omegamax Megazord, and there'll be the shoulder pads again here. But there'll also be the shoulder joints, and they go in with the wheels facing forward like this. And what happens is we will take the legs here, and they will attach in like this, like they did last time. And then we will take the old arms, they will attach up here, just so that there's something that can be done with them. And then we will take the fists, and we will plug them into holes on the bottom of the old legs. Next, we'll take the canopy piece from the bike mode, and we will slide this onto the chest here. And then we'll take this and we'll put it on top. And this is basically the Deltamax Megazord. And I like this quite a bit. You can attach this to the back if you want. It's a good way to have part economy, but it kind of hampers the figure a little bit. Because like this, the figure is great. It has great balance, it has great proportions. It just looks big and intimidating. But what you can do is, if you take these little clips right here, they will go into the little slot, to the little holes in here, and then this right here will clip onto the spoiler. So put this in, and tap this in, and this doesn't really add anything to the figure. Well, it kind of does. If you flip these up, you can give them smokestacks, kinda. But just from the front, if you don't use the smokestacks, which by the way are not screen accurate, then putting that thing on the back doesn't really add anything to the figure. And what it does do is it puts a lot of strain on the hip joints of the pad striker. So if you do it like this, the figure will actually end up kind of looking up a little bit. And the other problem of having this thing attached is, I've heard people complain about this thing actually falling off. I have not noticed that will fall off very much, but what will happen is, because of the weight, it will disengage the clip up here. So it will cause the back to break quite a bit. So it's up to you if you have this thing attached. For part economy, I usually have it attached. And so to actually add something to the figure, I usually flip up the exhaust port so that it adds something to the figure from just the front of it. But it's not strictly necessary to have this thing attached. What I wish happened were the tabs from these prongs here that attach the legs to the bicycle mode. I wish they tabbed into the back of the legs here to help keep this thing entirely solid. If they had done that, this thing would be perfect because there would be no strain on the hip joints. This thing would not pop back. This thing would actually be a structural piece, and it would just make the figure just about perfect in my eyes. So this isn't perfect, but it is really big, it's really nice, and it's actually quite heavy. It's a good final combination. For articulation in this mode, you can technically move the legs forward and back, but he's not going to balance at all if you do that. The arms can rotate around, not well, yeah, I guess it can rotate around 360. If these things are bent down, like this, damn it, you see what I mean about this thing being back heavy? If these are down like this, then you cannot rotate them around 360, so that's another reason to keep these up. I suppose actually you could even take the blades out here. I actually have not tried that before. I'm curious how that will look. Doesn't really add anything, but it's another option. So overall, I love the Squad Megazord. I like the Omegamax Megazord, and the Deltamax Megazord, and as well as the rider mode for the Squad Megazord on the Omegamax Cycle. I really like how these two figures interact together. They're really neat. They have a lot of play value together, and when you include the Swap Megazord, you can actually do some other interesting combinations. That's sort of out of the scope of this video, but I'll probably do something later where I show you like some of the stuff you can do. Like, there's something really neat where if you take the Pat Striker, put this thing on top of it, or the keep this chest piece on, and then put the arms and legs of the Swap Megazord on it. It looks really cool like that. I'll show that in another video. But anyway, this has been the video review of the Omegamax Megazord and the Deltamax Megazord. Thank you for watching. I review Power Rangers, Transformers, or Macross figures, lots of stuff like that. If any of that sounds interesting, please subscribe, and be sure to check our Facebook link down below in the video description. Thanks for watching.